And welcome to the podcast. This is going to be fun.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
All right, start from the beginning. Like we talked about you in a little bit in the intro, but talk about why a course. Like tell us a little bit about your business.
Okay. Well, actually, I am an attorney by profession. So I've been
That's
doing
right.
that for way too long. And when my son went through a horrible period during high school, he was like 16 and 17. Those couple of years were horrible. He has ADHD. He has horrible anxiety and developed depression. And I had no idea how to deal with it. So I dealt with it in the exact opposite way that you should deal with a teenager going through issues, and made a mess of it. When we finally figured out what we had done wrong, what I had done wrong, my husband was actually perfect. I was the one that was doing everything wrong. And so when I finally got all that figured out and I started reading all this stuff and studying all this stuff, I thought, oh my God, other moms need to know this because I'm a pretty smart cookie and I had no idea what I was doing wrong. And so I knew there had to be other moms out there who needed guidance on this. And there are tons. And so that's why I wanted to create a course. I really wanted to help other moms avoid the mess that I made with my teenager.
Okay, so I love this because like you mentioned you're a lawyer by trade, right? But your
Mhm.
course is not lawyerly focused, right? So
Not at all.
you learned something outside of what you studied, right? And
Mhm.
then you wanted to teach that and give back to other women. And then how did you know you were ready to teach this? That you were ready to put out content on this?
Right. Well, I started about 4 years ago studying. So this is when it all happened. So right at the end of when he was getting out of residential treatment, I started studying. So when I finally felt like I could talk to people about it and explain things to them without like looking at notes or looking
Yeah.
something up, when I felt very well versed in it. And so I started out just putting things out on Instagram and doing little posts and stuff like that. And as I learned more and I got more comfortable with it, I thought, okay, now and I wrote myself a book with like 300 citations, like a dissertation, just to help me learn it all.
Yeah.
So when I finally felt comfortable with it, and I kind of developed this framework from all of this stuff that I could teach from and really make it make sense. That's when I decided, okay, it's time to put this in a little container and get it out into the world.
Okay, so I want to bring up three things here because I love this because people say, how do I know when I'm ready? Right. And it's
Mhm.
one, you talking without notes. Love that.
Mhm.
Two, you were able to respond, right?
Right.
Thoughtfully. If people came to you with challenges with their own kids, you could respond to that, right?
Exactly.
And then three, that framework. So
Mhm.
important that you realize, okay, I have a system here. Okay,
Yes.
love
Yes.
that. And then you joined my 6 week accelerator. So let's talk
Right.
about that a little bit. Why
Yeah.
did you join the accelerator? Why didn't
Well,
you do it
and
on your own?
yeah, well, I tried that, and so I wasn't getting very far, and I was getting bogged down in all the minutia and all, trying to make it perfect and trying to do it over and over and over again and without putting it out there. And so I listened to your podcast, and I know you know what you're talking about, and you knew how to teach it. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it. And it's so good because it forces you to get it, like you say, get
Get
it
it
done.
done.
It forces you to get it done and not to be such a perfectionist about it and just at least put it out there. So that's kind of what I did. I kind of went through the whole thing and gave myself really just about 10 days to kind of launch it the first time,
Mhm.
just as more or less as an experience of doing it and seeing what I needed to, clarify from there and get better at.
Yeah. Okay, so I love that. So you give yourself so I want to dive into this a little bit. Before what surprised you about putting together the course by the way, Anne, before we dive into the details of the launch?
Um, I guess, I mean, it surprised me that I was able to get it done in the amount of time that I got it done in.
Mm.
Um, because I really didn't think I'd be able to do that. It surprised me that I was able to like focus and get the little bits and pieces put together in a way that made sense because that's what I worried about is am I going to be able to build this thing in little bits and pieces that someone could actually follow along and understand what I'm talking about? So I was kind of surprised that it all kind of just came together the way it did. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think the exercises like the post-it note exercise that you teach and, taking it bit by bit really does help, because otherwise you're kind of looking at this huge amount of information, and it's so confusing to try to figure out how to get it down and teach it to someone else.
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. Let's talk about the launch a little bit. So you said you brought it
Okay.
together in 10 days. How did you launch? What did you do for it?
Well, I have a tiny little list at that point. Actually, I think I just had about 150 or 175 people maybe on the list. And so I did email, I think maybe probably 4 or 5 emails maybe, because I'm really weird about I don't wanna bug people with the emails. I'm so weird about that. And so I did that. I have a podcast, and at that point, the podcast had been out, I guess about a year. So I did like a mid-roll, announcement on the podcast, and I guess well, yeah, I probably did it maybe 8 days out, something like that. And I put it on Instagram, and that's about it. So, and there wasn't a lot of time. So, but again, I just wanted to get it out there.
Right, you wanted to get it out there. And then I
Yeah.
think you sold 3, is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yep.
So, which is great. So I know you were disappointed, and I know there's
Of
probably
course.
people listening right now, they're like, "Whoa, I sold 3, I sold 5," right? And I
Yeah.
wanted maybe 10 or 15 for my beta. But to me, it's like you sold, people bought and they were
Exactly.
interested. So you and I are going to spend this podcast talking about, okay, so what's next, right?
Yeah.
If you launched, and anybody listening right now, you launched and you got 3, heck, you got 1, right?
Yeah.
1 or 2 or 3. Like, I applaud you, first of all, because again, that shows that people are interested. That shows that people are going to pay money for what you have to offer. And we need to
Right.
celebrate that. Okay.
Right. Right.
Because that's huge. That means you are, like, you were already expert. Now you're a paid expert
Yeah,
in this.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's
It feels that
exciting,
way.
right?
Mhm.
And if you're listening to this, Anne's face just lit up when I said paid
Yeah.
expert, because, right? Because you're used to getting paid as a lawyer,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
like, oh, heck yeah. I'm trained as that. But in this new realm, this idea that people are going to pay you for your expertise, that's big. That's
Yeah,
big.
and
So,
you don't feel like you can call yourself an expert. I mean, I
right.
really wrestled with that for a long time,
Yeah.
and it's just in these last few months that I thought, "You know what? I'm as much of an expert as anyone else. I have
That's right.
and I'm, 25 steps ahead of the people I'm trying to teach." So, yeah, I feel like an expert for sure.
You have a framework, you get results,
Right.
you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yes. So that's amazing. So if you're listening right now and you got the 3 or you got the 5 and you're like, okay, what's next? This is what we're going to talk about right now. So, first of all, I love to debrief first and foremost the launch. And that's why I'm asking you, okay, what was the ingredients or the elements of your launch? And everyone listening, and you know this, Anne, because you listen to the podcast and because of the accelerator, I love a multi-channel marketing approach, which you did on a smaller scale, right?
Right.
So you had your email marketing, you had your social media marketing, you did a little bit on the podcast to rev it up. And I think it's great you have a small list, 150 to 175. I talk about this all the time. You don't need a big list to launch. I think one thing that might have helped is just having that run up to the course and having that
Mhm.
warm up and that content warm up. And
Right.
because I think, like, you kind of went for it over the 10 days. Is that right? Did you have any kind of content warm up?
Well, not really. I mean, and I forgot, I did actually do a couple of lives on
Okay,
Instagram. So I
that's
did
great.
throw that in there because I
Yeah.
knew we didn't really have time to plan a webinar and do all of
Yeah.
that. So I did do a couple of lives. But yeah, as far as warm up, I don't really know how to do that, I guess.
Okay, that's good.
So,
Okay.
how
Yeah.
what to do to lead up to it, what are you talking about? And I mean, I'm still confused about exactly what to do on the webinar,
Yeah.
so yeah, so
Yeah,
talk
we
to
could
me
do a
about that.
whole, right, we talked about that. Like, we could do a whole thing about
Yeah,
webinars. So,
yeah.
okay, so I think 3 aspects that I want to focus on is, 1, the warm up, 2, that event, and then
Mhm.
3, the customization, the personalization. So let's go through it. So, 1, with the warm up, a few months out, like, and if you don't have the luxury of a few months out or even a month out, 30 to 45 days, I would have loved you to start warming up the list and letting them know, hey, this content is coming. doing some kind of special content for them, having a wait list up. Yeah, I don't think you had time for a wait list. Is that right?
Yeah, I've had a wait list since day
Okay.
one. So
Okay,
yeah.
great. So, and were you warming up that wait list and nurturing them?
Well, yeah, every week I was sending an email a week. Yeah.
Okay,
And
great.
actually that may not have started too soon before I launched. So probably just a couple of months I had started doing the weekly
Okay,
email.
that's fine. That's great.
Yeah.
So, ideally, if you're listening, you're 6 months out. But if you don't have you're doing the nurture, right? Maybe not the warm up or the
Mhm.
run up. And then I did a podcast with Megan O'Leary. I'll link to it in the show notes for everybody. But getting that relevant content up there, really hitting him with the pain points and talking through how you're the solution is really great, and nurturing them and having maybe that bonus for the wait list. So that's great you had the wait list up.
Yeah.
So having that run up, I think, is really important and getting them excited for that. Another thing is the event. You mentioned that, like having a webinar or having a content series or videos or something special where you bring it. So lives are great.
Hmm.
Kind of bundling it together maybe so they build on each other. So maybe it feels like a challenge versus
Yeah.
just like a series of random lives would be really powerful. You don't necessarily have to do a webinar, but I think
Mhm.
these days people are looking for something where they're investing more time and they're seeing how you teach. What was
Right.
the price point of the course, Anne?
97.
97. Okay, great. So
Hmm.
you could have done a 3-day challenge, right? Or
Okay.
a shorter webinar, or you could have recorded like a video sales letter where you talk through the content and then you sell it at the end. Okay.
Okay.
So, like any of these events are
Hmm.
just getting a better sense of you. By the way, did you email folks afterwards and ask them why they didn't buy?
No, I did
Okay.
not.
So that's always awesome to do, to say
Okay.
like, hey, I saw, you could even say, and this is where it gets like a little stalkerish. Like, I
Yeah.
saw you were like, you knew they clicked on the sales page, you knew they went
Hmm.
to your landing page and they didn't
Hmm.
buy. So you say,
Right.
I saw you were interested, but you
Yeah.
didn't enroll. Can you, and you can give them a multiple choice survey to make it easy,
Right.
like click on one of these and then leave something open ended.
Okay.
And so it's a couple months later, right? When did you launch? You launched a couple months ago.
Um, yeah, it's been like 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it might be worth emailing a couple of people personally and be like, hey, as
Yeah.
a reminder, I sent this out a few months ago. Just curious why you didn't buy, or just do that for the next one. The intel is always really great for that.
Wow. Yeah. So I've never even thought about that. I've never heard that even mentioned. I don't think.
Yeah.
Have you mentioned that before? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I
So,
missed that day in class.
no, that's okay. So,
Okay.
and what's great about it is the intel that you get, right? They'll be like,
Yeah.
"Well, I didn't think it was right for me."
Yeah.
Or my kid, I felt like my kid might be too young.
Hmm.
Or I usually it's about they didn't think it was right for them, or they didn't see the value.
Yeah. See, I always think it's about the money. They just don't want to spend the money. That's what I always assume, is that it's just too expensive. But I guess there are other reasons why people wouldn't do
Well,
it.
and I think they will, because think about this, right? You'll buy it if you're in pain, like you were in pain
Hmm.
about your son, right?
Right.
And you're
Right.
like, I'll pay whatever it takes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you communicate the urgency of the pain point and why you're the solution, they'll
Yeah.
buy.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing because um it feels like a lot of the people who follow me and listen to the podcast, because I get people reaching out all the time. I've
Yeah.
started a free Facebook group and I have like 110 people in there,
Mhm.
and everybody is constantly saying, "Oh my God, thank you for, you've done such a wonderful thing for my family," and blah blah blah. And then they don't buy. And I'm like, "Okay,
Right.
you love me." But I think a lot of the time, like you said, they're not experiencing that pain. For some reason, I have a lot of people who follow me, and this may make a lot of sense, but they are not having a really hard time with their teenager. They are, because maybe it's because they're very proactive and they're listening to podcasts and they're reading the books and they're doing all the things, and they're not the people that are really having the problem.
So
And then
great.
when I go
Yes.
into like Facebook and I see the parenting groups and that kind of thing, and I try to answer questions in there. They're the people who really, really need me because they're where I was a few years ago, but they're not the ones listening to my podcast and following me. So that it's really difficult. Like how, and I've been reaching out on Facebook and commenting and saying, if you I have lots of free parenting resources, and I went through this a few years ago, after my big long comment, and give them value, that if you want to listen, just let me know and I'll come back and post. I don't like spam the group and say, here's my thing, go read it or go listen to it. And that has been very, very beneficial in the last
Mhm.
couple of months that I've done that. But yeah, those are the folks that need me more than the people I think who are actually listening to me.
Okay,
So go
this is
figure.
such a great distinction for you, Anne,
Yeah.
and everyone listening is the audience that okay, so there's the audience that your course really serves,
Right.
right? And they're the ones in pain. They're
Right.
they're reactors maybe,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus proactive parents
Yes.
who are
Yes.
so there is a disconnect between who your course wants to serve and your podcast listeners.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's like me talking to people who are advanced, like we're talking advanced launch strategies on this podcast, but meanwhile people are just starting out.
Yeah.
Okay, like
Exactly.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to and then I try to sell a course that's about advanced launch strategies. I'm selling an ad funnel or something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not going to get any buyers,
Yeah.
right? So this is a great thing for you because it's like, okay, so have you polled your podcast audience?
No.
Okay, so this is great. So this is
Yeah.
what today's podcast is all about. It's just about
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
ideas, right? Hopefully great
Right.
ideas. So I would
Oh
love for
yeah.
you to poll your podcast audience
Mm-hmm.
and to figure out just a couple of questions. Again, we got to make it easy for folks. You're gonna have to remind them to take it again, but they love
Yeah.
you, so they'll do it. Uh, what what are your biggest challenges, right?
Right.
And what I'm hearing from you is it might not be the beginning stages of parenting, right?
Yeah.
With kids with ADHD or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but maybe it's something in the middle.
Yeah.
Or I'm curious, right? I'm
Yeah.
curious to know and what kind of tools would they pay for,
Yeah.
right? What do they actually want to pay for? And then you have a better
Yeah.
idea of your listening audience. And then I think it's great that you started this Facebook group if it's that's what the course is about. And then I know you're talking about offline you said you're going to start a membership,
Yes.
right? For
Yes.
okay, so tell me a little bit about that.
Okay.
I mean, I get a lot of course creators who then transition to a
Yeah.
membership, which
Yeah.
is great. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I tell you, the one thing is that the whole launching thing makes me so freaking anxious. It just makes me, and it's just like work, 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 and sell it, launch it. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, if it doesn't go well. So I like the idea of having the course. As a matter of fact, I just finished the very last video a few minutes ago before we got on for the course. And so I want to put that in the membership so they pay. For one thing, I want to do like weekly live
Mhm.
coaching calls with people and bring in other experts to do things on like a monthly basis, Q&As, and just have everything gathered in this one place on Kajabi, and just a community and all that kind of stuff. So I still, the course is actually going to be bigger than the course that I launched. What I launched, kind of the beta thing, was just the fourth part of my four-part framework.
Yeah.
So now I've gone ahead and I've put the other three parts in and done the whole thing, and done it quickly, and just real rough videos on Loom, and boom, 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 and already have all my PDFs and stuff from before.
Yep.
And
You just repurpose
so
them, right?
yeah, yeah.
So
So I'm pretty much ready.
did you ask if they wanted a membership site?
Oh, I
Okay, so
did
this is
not.
a great opportunity right now because
Yeah,
there's time. Listen, you can cook up whatever you want, and you
yeah,
put out your content. Everyone listening, you put out that course for like it is a thing to put out the
yeah.
course the first time. But the great thing is you can repurpose that bad boy any which way, right?
Right.
I would love for you to go into that Facebook group and say, hey, are you and then give them like three options. Would you
Yeah,
rather have this or this? What kind of delivery do you want? I think
right.
you have a sense of what content they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go back to some of those people on your list or get on the phone, right?
Yeah.
With maybe some of the people like, or those people who reach out to you about the podcast,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, I
Yeah.
love the podcast. Great. Do you mind? Let's do a 20-minute phone call. And I'd love to hear more about what's going on in your household. And I just love to ask you a couple of questions and see, because those podcast people, again, might not be a fit for your membership, but at least you'll know maybe there's something else
Yeah.
that they're
Yeah.
interested in.
I've missed
So,
some good opportunities there because I've talked to a lot of these people on the phone and
right.
voluntarily helped them,
Yeah.
work through issues, but I never really then brought up my thing,
Your stuff.
at the end. Yeah. I just
You
was
need to
like
bring up your
all
stuff.
helping.
You're providing value for them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they're going to want to help you. Go back to them, Anne. They
Yeah.
love
I'll
you,
do
right? They're
that.
like, people, just talking to my husband about this. Like, people, you line up your chips and
Yeah.
people are like, you've got chips,
Yep.
right?
I
And
do. I do. And
people,
it,
and you're like,
and
I'd like to cash in some chips now.
right, please, please. Well, and I do go into the Facebook group, and the whole thing with the Facebook group is engagement. So I ask questions every day. I get my posts ready a month in advance. They're all scheduled.
Great.
They ask different questions, and it's funny because I had I hit 100 like a week or two ago, and nobody was talking until 100 people. And I've heard people say this before: when you get that 100th
Hmm.
people are talking to me, they're talking to each other, and I'm able to ask more questions and get more feedback. So I think now
That's
I would
awesome.
be able to go in and ask.
Great opportunity.
Yeah, I've told them about it. I've said, this is my idea, this is what I want to do. And and so people have said, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah." And I've scheduled for the next 3 Fridays, I'm doing lives in the Facebook group on one topic about how not to argue with your teenager. And then I'm planning on then going into the pitch at the end, just a
Great.
little pitch. And,
Yeah.
to try to go ahead and get beta members or, founding members in the
Hmm.
membership. And now that I have the course finished today, then, excuse me, it'll be ready for them to get in there and start working on it.
Okay, and that's great. And this, I encourage you to work through your messaging, right?
Yeah.
And see what really resonates for them
Right.
and what do they really want in terms of the delivery. So before you do those lives, pull them and figure out what do they really want, how do they want it, what are they willing to pay for,
Right. Right.
right?
Okay.
And then you could still do the membership site, but they might want those live calls with you, Anne, or
Yeah.
they might want the community, a bigger community or something. So you're not
Right.
going to know until which might be very different from your podcast audience,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then
yeah.
maybe there's something else for them.
So maybe for the Facebook group, would you put out like just a Facebook poll on there and say,
Sure.
which things would you rather see in a membership, or would you rather have a membership or just a course or whatever? I mean,
So I would
which
do both.
okay.
Would you rather have a self-paced course that you go through over 6 weeks? I'm making this up.
Hmm.
Or a membership that you can interact with the community. I go live once a week or twice a month or whatever it is.
Right,
So
right,
give them the options, and then I would drill down from there and what kind of content, or you could do delivery, like would you like community or like features,
yeah,
and then you could drill down on the kind of content if you want to do that, if it's not clear from the other stuff in the
right,
Facebook group that you
right.
already did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. That's
I,
good.
that's
Well,
how I
and
would
I'm
do that.
starting my lives tomorrow. So I'm
Okay, just do the
literally,
live. Go for it, girl.
yeah,
Just do
I'm
it. Yeah.
literally, and I already put it out there and said I'm going to do
No,
these
do it
three.
and get your
Yeah.
intel. So,
Okay.
is your live? Are you teaching or Q&A? What is it?
It's teaching, but I've never even done this on Facebook. So
Yeah.
they can't like talk to me other than chat, right?
Right.
That's the only way they can do it. Okay. So I guess in the chat I can ask them, tell me what you would like to see in the membership, or tell me what your pain points are. I know you don't say it that way, but
Yeah. Yeah. So I would challenges. What's your biggest challenge right now?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what people respond to. But
Okay.
yeah, I would get the intel. So I would teach and then get the intel. Like
Okay.
what's top of mind for you guys right now?
Okay.
What's the biggest challenge when you woke up this morning? You're like, for
Yeah.
us, like getting the dog to sleep through the night, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
right? Finally did last night, but
Yeah.
yeah, and we woke up, we're like, yay!
Hadn't felt that in a few years now.
Oh my God.
Getting something to sleep through the night. Oh,
So that
Lord.
was yeah, so it was great. But yeah, just a question like that, right? Get them
Yeah.
talking, get them
Okay.
chatting, and
Okay.
then
And
I
then
love that
would
you
you
give them these
pitch it
lists.
too? Would you pitch it at the end too still, or would you wait and do these 3 and get more intel and then maybe next month?
I would mention it
Mhm.
tomorrow. I'd say,
Mhm.
and then I would tailor it to whatever they're saying, right?
Okay.
So I hear,
Okay.
I hear what you're saying about X, Y, and Z challenge,
Mhm.
and that's why I'm about to open up
Yeah.
my brand new membership. You guys get first dibs because you're part of this community,
Yeah.
and we'll talk more about that next week. But maybe build
Mhm.
up a little of anticipation, Anne,
Yeah.
and then open it
Okay.
up next week.
Okay. That's a good
Okay.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you could see what people say, what they're excited about, what their
Right.
challenges are,
Right.
and then you could pitch them next week.
Okay. What would you do about pricing as far
Mm,
as, like these would be my founding members
yeah.
and, maybe give them the price, a good price, and then let them stay in at that price or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
grandfather them in.
how much of a discount would you get? And I don't even really know where I'm going with the pricing on the monthly membership. I think like $49 a month is probably where I'm going.
Okay, and then have you done competitor research? Like what other
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and that's about right.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, there are some that are a lot more, but there are some that are, in the 30s.
Yep.
And so, I don't want to sell myself short. And the more I think about it, and I've heard people say this too, and we used to do this when I was in retail before I went to law school,
Yeah.
and we'd say, yeah, that, you unpack something out of the box, and even if you paid $5 for it, you look at it and you go, yeah, that looks like a $50, vase or whatever it is. And so I think people, we'd always say the more expensive it was, the more they wanted it, so they don't,
You don't want to
maybe,
discount it too much.
yeah. So perception, the value of something a lot of times is based on what the price is.
Yeah.
If it's more expensive, maybe people feel like it's more valuable. I don't know. I don't know if that's really true or not,
Well,
but
okay, so for the $50 a month, do you have a great deal for the year? Buy for the year.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to go ahead and do like almost 50% for the year if they do it for the year.
So $25 a month,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
something like that.
If they pay for it all at
If
one
they pay
time.
for
Yeah,
it up
for the
front.
year. Right. Right.
Okay. Well, I think that's a really good deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they pay for the year, so you are you going to do a paid for the year for these founding members as well, or just a month to month? You want to
I
you
don't
want to
know.
I don't know if just food for thought. I don't know if I would
Yeah, I
give
hadn't thought
half
about that.
off. I don't know if I would give half off. I maybe you do that for your founding members.
Yeah.
So you say it's $50 a month. You can decide if you want to discount them for the months too. Say like you get $40 a month to month. And
Mhm.
then for the year, I'm going to offer you, if you guys commit to the year, I'll offer you half off. Maybe you do that for your
Okay.
founding members.
Okay. That's a good idea. And
Okay.
so if they just
That's a
wanted it
great
at the
deal.
monthly rate, yeah, just pay the monthly rate.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I
Uh,
like that idea.
and then I would temporarily do, if you wanted to offer the month to month $40,
Yeah.
or best value, sign up for the year,
Yeah.
25. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's great.
Yeah.
Start
Well,
there.
and the only thing that worries me is, I want to be ready and have the course all finished before I start this, month to month thing, because at that point I'm going to have to show up and
Yep.
do things
Yep.
on a, regular basis. So I want to have, all this stuff in a row and ready to go before I open it up. And that's what makes me a little bit nervous, but I like the idea of interacting with people, and helping them through the course too. So, I
Yeah,
kind of
and
get
it'll
excited
put your
about
feet
that.
to the fire, right? So
Mhm.
and so give yourself an extra week to open that,
Okay,
and
that's a good
then
idea.
and then you'll feel a little bit more ready, and then you'll get it done. You'll build a plane
Yeah.
as you fly it, which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know you can do that. Okay,
Yep.
I'm excited. So you
I
got
am
the Facebook
too.
group going. You're gonna poll your audience. You're gonna survey them. You're gonna do these lives. You're
Yep.
gonna launch the membership with a great deal, and
Yep.
then see what they love, what they don't love, what they want more of.
Yes, and keep my fingers crossed.
Oh, yeah, you got this. You're gonna do it. Okay,
I
I'm
think I can
excited
do
for
it.
you.
I am too. Thank you.
Okay, well, Well, thanks for coming by the podcast and chatting.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you for all the good advice.
All right. Bye, Anne.
Bye.